Please welcome Barbara Kopple.
No hug, huh? Okay. Well, some people came. Thank you. I want to thank you and Rafaela for putting on such an incredible festival. It just gets better and better every year. 250 docs.
Well, and panels, and yeah.
A lot. And so all of us from this community just adore you. So thank you. Okay. This film is a really very special film. Collier Landry, who's sitting over there, has not seen it. And it's all about his life. It's about trauma. It's about his father who murders his mother when he is 11 years old, and how he comes back with so much hope and resilience. And it's going to be amazing. Plus, people have come all the way from Mansfield, and they're going to be speaking with you. Dr. Dennis, Dave, and Sue. And it's just going to be a wonderful, wonderful evening, I hope. Gary is here, who did the cinematography. There he is. Dave Cassidy and Ray are here, who are the producers. And Rob Kuhn is here, who did the editing. And so many people from Cabin Creek who worked on this film. And I'm just very proud. Working with ID Discovery was terrific. I suggest you all do it, filmmakers. They're great collaborators and really wonderful partners, and we look forward to working with them again. And I'm just going to let you see the film, and then we'll talk afterwards.
Thank you very much. So Barbara, let me start with you. How was it that you came to this story, and what interested you in this story?
Well, Collier and I have a mutual friend named John Morrissey, who is the executive producer of the film. And he's in Turkey right now, so he couldn't be here. But he called up and he said, "Hey, Barbara, I have this friend named Collier, and he has this amazing story." And he painted it out for me. I then looked at hours of the courtroom trial material, and there was no way I wasn't going to do this film.
Collier, Barbara said this was the first time you were seeing the film. You've a strength of character and resolve that anyone has to admire watching this film. And I am interested to know, what was the experience like for you to see this?
Well, it was certainly interesting revisiting the scenario. It's as frustrating as it looks like it is on film, talking to my father. That's exactly how it was right then and there. But you know, it ends kind of on a sad note, as far as I think people might not feel that gives you a sense of closure, not getting that admittance of guilt or whatever. But in the denial, that is the closure. I mean, I wanted to make this film for 26 years, and I saw a film called American History X when I was 20, and I met John Morrissey, who was the producer of that film, 8 years later, and I said, "Hey, I've got an idea for something." And it's a little screwed up, but it's based on my life. And then kind of spiraled into Barbara coming involved, and he said, "Oh, I've got somebody who I know would love to do this." So doing this project is what really brought the closure to it.
Wait, I have one other thing. Collier, you said to me the other night that you never got to attend your mother's funeral because the trial was going on and other things were going on, and in some respect, perhaps this film would help be the completion of all of that.
Yeah, I was walking to meet David for dinner on Friday night, and I was here in Manhattan, and I realized on the walk up to meet him, it just kind of hit me that, you know, I never did get to go to my mother's funeral, and this film, this project, making this happen is how I've buried my mother, and it's a really cool feeling.
Dr. Marikas, I want to ask you a question. You know, as a therapist,
Right.
you might think twice about advising a client to participate in a project like this.
Right.
And I wonder what your thoughts were on Collier making a film about this and what you think the results are.
Right. Well, I think Collier used his gifts and graces to do that wonderfully, to tell his story. And the story has value not just for Collier's journey, but for the journey of many people who go through awful traumatic experiences. I think that the model is, you know, we like a happy ever-ending story where things just sort of work out. What we realize is forgiveness is painful and difficult, and it is letting go. It isn't reconciling. And so I think leaving and feeling that way is a way of closure, but you never really lose connection to the experience of those traumas. So I think for him and the experience of doing this, it was beneficial for others to see that, but more importantly for him as well, to see what it's like to go through this process.
David and Susan, as people who have known Collier for most of his life, I wonder if you can just reflect on the person you've gotten to know as an adult.
Well, he's turned out to be such a good person. He's been through so much, and it's very difficult for him. We still marvel at how well he's done. And when I started out with this case originally, Dr. Boyle was somewhat familiar to me because several of the people that worked for me were ex-Marines, and they started going to him when he was opening up practice. So I had heard about how great he was, and all of the Marines like the Navy doctors, and then as I got into the case, I found out what kind of a pathological liar he is. And for Collier to have been subjected to this all these years is it's just terrible. I'm glad that he is coming to a closure, and he's such a good guy. He's going to work out well. Yeah.
We're just so proud of the person he's become. And he's such a good guy and has a wonderful heart, and we're just very, very proud of him.
Well, we thank you for your participation in the film and for being here. So the question was, as an adoptee, have you ever been had an interest in looking for your biological parents?
Well, no, my biological parents were my mother and my father. So I was not adopted by Noreen and Jack. I was their natural son. Only my sister was, yeah.
The question was, do you have contact with your father's girlfriend's child?
I had, and but kind of when I wanted to do this film, and as we were going through the motions of pre-production, that her mother didn't want to participate and didn't want her to participate, and so we kind of not by my choice, but we haven't spoken since, which is unfortunate.
None of your relatives wanted to talk or participate.
You know, one of the important things I think about this film, and since you were a trauma psychologist, is you discover, at least for me in the pre-production process of this project, is you discover how people compartmentalize this. And that's one of the things why I felt so strongly about doing this film is there's a saying that says that which you avoid ends up controlling you. And I feel a lot of the people that were involved in this, with the murder and around it, that didn't want to participate, didn't want to talk about it. They want to sweep it under the rug and not deal with it, and it controls their life, and they can't move on. I think that's one of the messages I want people to look at this is, yeah, it's sad because my father's a sociopath, but that helped me move on. Like, this was my way of moving on and working through this tragedy is making this film. And I don't know if that quite answered the question or not, but, there were a lot of people that didn't want to bring this back up. And, oh, I've dealt with it. It's like, no, you haven't, because you don't want to talk about it, you know.
Are there things in the film that you weren't expecting, or that, you know, you had to stop for a moment and think about? Different scenes or anything, since this is the first time you've seen it?
Yeah, by the way, this is the first time I've ever seen the film. So, no, I mean, I think, I really enjoyed the time with Shelley, and my George and Susan were great, and Dave and Sue were great, and everybody was great. So, everybody played their part very well.
But the beauty also, I think, is that everybody in this community loves you.
Yeah.
And from that radio, you know, the person on the radio, and just people walking down the street and talking to you. And I mean, this thing turned your community upside down.
Yeah, it did. It did. And people, you know, still, you know, even before we were making this, you know, I said, I get these random Facebook messages, you know, 2, 3, 4 times a month from people I don't know that see the Forensic Files episode about this, or they reach out and they find me on Facebook. They, how are you functional?
We're all wondering that too, by the way.
I think and that's a great question. And by the way, since Barbara is now a therapist, her rate goes up, by the way, everyone. So just so you know. That's a great question. And you know, that's something I still work through. But I think we saw exactly how the relationship is. And I don't think there's any real need, at least for me immediately, to open that door again, if that makes sense.
I think that the film, for me, reads that it's about trauma. And when you're devastated and you've lost every single thing in your life, who are the people that are going to suffer from it? It's the innocents. And how are these people going to get back on track? And who's going to be there to help them? And who's going to be there to love them? And I see this film as saying, if Collier could go through this and Collier could do this, then maybe other people will do it. And hopefully it will reach out to other people.
Thank you.
Barbara, can you tell us where the film goes from here?
We're going to Amsterdam on the 15th to IDFER for its international world premiere. And after that, we've applied to other film festivals, and then it's going to go on ID Discovery. And we're really looking forward to that. I also want to just say something to our editor, Rob, wherever you may be. You had a very, very hard job of piecing all of this together and making it look seamless, and you just did a magnificent job, and I thank you so much.
Yeah, Rob, thank you. Thank you.
There are 4 more days left of Doc NYC. I hope you can come back and see some more films. Thank you very much for coming. Thanks especially to the team behind The Murder in Mansfield.
Thank you.